Hi there, my name is Ben and today I'm going to teach you how to meditate in 10 minutes. This video is aimed at people who've never meditated before, but if you have meditated before, feel free to watch it. I hope it will be a useful reminder. Now, before we talk about the actual technique, let's talk a little bit about why we meditate in the first place. Because, we all have limited time, we have limited resources, and we have busy lives. So why would we spend time and effort learning this particular practice? And the simple answer is because it reduces our suffering. There have been various scientific studies done, I've put a link to one of them in the description, which show that meditation can reduce our suffering. It can make us happier. Now, I'm not saying that it will do it overnight. If you meditate for 10 minutes, then you'll be happy for the rest of your life. No, it is something that you have to practice regularly, but it can have a dramatic effect on our minds, and that's why we do it. How does that work? Well, most of the time we are very distracted by our thoughts. So words or images or ideas that come into our minds. I might be sitting here just looking at these sort of yoga blocks that the phone is propped up in front of me, and I might think, those are a bit ratty and old, I need to get some new ones. And when am I going to get time to go to the shops? No, I can't go to the shops because it's a lockdown and I'm not going to be able to have new yoga blocks very soon, and that's going to stress me out, and I want to get new yoga blocks. And suddenly, all of a sudden, I'm actually quite stressed and tense about something very, very small. And that's because thought came into my mind and I followed it. So I had a thought about yoga blocks, and I thought about the state of the yoga blocks, then I thought about getting new yoga blocks, and already my mind's got tense. All right, and I'm less happy than I was before I had that original thought. So thoughts, if we follow them, can create tension in our mind, and if that happens, then we can suffer. And what the meditation does is it calms our mind down. This particular meditation is aimed at relaxing the mind, allowing the mind to have fewer thoughts. Not no thoughts, but fewer thoughts. And if there's fewer thoughts, we're less likely to get distracted, less likely to become tense, and less likely to suffer. All right? So what is the technique itself? Well, what we're going to do is focus on our breath. Some people have done this in yoga, and I understand that that's quite a similar set of practices, but what we're doing here is focusing on our breath without thinking about it, without judging it. So we're not thinking, oh, that breath is too long, or that breath is too short, or I should be breathing more deeply or more shallowly. Nothing like that. We're just noticing our breath. And specifically, we're noticing the sensation at our nostrils. So when we breathe in, there's a very slight sensation at the tips of the nostrils. And if we look at that, if we notice it, then we notice it coming in, the breath coming in, and we notice the breath going out. And that's it. Just noticing the physical sensation of the breath entering and leaving the nostrils. There's a lot about posture that you'll be able to read on the internet. The key thing is to have a straight back. So there are various other points of posture, but the key thing is to have a straight back. Not kind of rigid at attention like this, because that just creates more aches and pains, and that's what we're trying to avoid, and that will distract us from our meditation. So just keep your back as straight as you can whilst not making it tense. In terms of the eyes, some people have their eyes open, some people have their eyes closed. It's entirely up to you. If you have your eyes open, it's good to look at a sort of 45-degree angle. So halfway between straight ahead and looking straight down at the floor. Halfway between those two. And that's basically it. We notice our breath. We notice the sensation of the breath coming into the nostrils and leaving the nostrils. And we maintain a straight back so that we don't get aches and pains during the meditation. That's it. So let's do a minute of that. And after that, I'll talk a little bit about certain things we can do in our life to make things easier, certain things we can do to enhance our practice. All right? So we'll just do a minute. It's up to you whether you have your eyes open or closed for this. I'm going to have my eyes open, but whichever you do, all you need to do is focus on the breath. And if you get distracted by thoughts, which you will, just gently return your attention to the breath. So a thought comes up, you notice it, gently return your attention to the breath. So, let's do 1 minute of that. Alright, so that was about a minute. You'll notice that a lot of thoughts come up and it's easy to get distracted. That's fine, that's normal. And in fact, we shouldn't get frustrated with ourselves when we get distracted by thoughts, because once you realize you're distracted, you return your attention to the breath. And since you've noticed the distraction, you're able to correct it. So noticing you're distracted is half the practice. So don't get frustrated when that happens. It's quite normal, and it shows that you are making progress because you're noticing that you're distracted. Most of the time in life, we don't notice we're distracted at all. So even if we get distracted, if we notice we're distracted, that is much better than what we'd normally be doing when we're going about our everyday lives. Okay, so how do we practice this technique in daily life? Well, the first thing to say is that little and often is better than big blocks. So doing 5-10 minutes a day of this per day is much better than doing 2 hours every Saturday. And the reason for that is because it rewires our brain, actually. It builds a habit. If you do the same thing, not just meditation, but anything, for 30 days, it creates a new neural pathway in your brain, and that means that whatever activity you've done for 30 days is much easier to do afterwards. Okay? So little and often is better. You do not have to sit in formal meditation posture to do this practice. You can do it when you're on the bus, when you're on your sofa, when you're in the bath, when you're in the shower. You can do it almost anywhere. So long as you're breathing, which you will be, you can do this practice. All right? And if you can do it informally as well as formally, that's really good. Actually, it's really good to be able to bring this practice, to bring this awareness into everyday tasks. One thing to remember is that we are not trying to stop thoughts, right? Thoughts, images, ideas, words, these things are going to come up in our mind because the nature of our mind, or our brain if you prefer to think of it that way, but the nature of our mind is to think. Thoughts will come up. We're not trying to get rid of them all. And they're not bad. It's not that thoughts are bad. It's just they cause tension, which causes suffering. So we just reduce them through this meditation so that we can have a little bit more peace, a little bit more space. I hope that's been a very useful video. If you do like it, please share it on social media. That would be great. Also, please like it and subscribe at the bottom of the page. And I hope to see you again for the next video. Thank you very much.